Okay, if you're a beekeeper, you have probably seen this, and it is just heartbreaking. You put out a sugar feeder to help your colony, only to come back and find that some of your bees have drowned in the very food that was meant to save them. It's a super common and frustrating problem, but the good news is there are clear causes and some really great solutions we're about to get into.
So why does this happen? It feels like such a cruel twist, right? How can this act of support, this thing you're doing to help them, turn into a deadly trap? We're going to break down exactly what's going on inside the hive to really understand the root of the problem.
All right, let's turn that frustration into action. This isn't just about pointing out a problem, it's about giving you the actual tools to prevent it. We're going to go from understanding the why to mastering the how, so you can keep your bees safe and sound.
Now, feeding is an absolutely crucial part of beekeeping. We all know that. Especially during those lean times, between seasons, in the chill of autumn and winter, or when there's just not enough nectar to go around. But this lifeline can become a real hazard, and that's the first thing we need to tackle.
Okay, time to put on our detective hats. To really solve this, we've got to uncover the causes. And you might be surprised, it's not always the obvious thing. The reasons can range from the physical setup of your feeder, all the way to the health and even the age of your bees. Let's start digging into these hidden culprits.
So here are the main suspects on our list. And listen, it's almost never just one single thing. It's usually a combination of these factors working together. From the gear you're using to the biology of the hive itself, let's break each one down.
This one might actually surprise you. The age of your bees is a huge, huge factor. If your hive has a ton of young bees, we're talking under 21 days old, your risk goes way up. These are the newbies, the nurse bees. They haven't really been out in the world yet, so they're kind of clumsy and way more likely to fall in. So if you're seeing a lot of drowned bees, it could be a big clue about the demographics inside your hive.
Okay, let's get a little nerdy for a second and talk about viscosity. It sounds complicated, but it's just a fancy word for how thick a liquid is. Now, if your sugar syrup is too thick, too concentrated, for a tiny little bee, it is basically quicksand. They get stuck, they can't pull themselves out, and that's it. This is why getting your syrup recipe right is so important.
And it's not just about the feeder. The hive's overall health is a massive piece of the puzzle. Think about it. A sick or weak bee just doesn't have the energy to save itself if it falls in. And if the syrup has started to ferment, or it's just too cold out, that can stun a bee, making it impossible for them to fly out and get back to the warmth of the cluster.
Okay, enough with the problems. Let's get to the good stuff, the solutions. And the best part is, these fixes are actually super simple and really effective. Every beekeeper can do these. Let's open up our toolkit.
All right, here are 3 things you can do right now to make a difference. Think of these as your first line of defense. They tackle the most common reasons bees drown, head on. Let's start with the easiest one of them all.
Seriously, this is one of my favorite tips because it's so simple, but so brilliant. Just add life rafts to your feeder. Give the bees something safe to stand on so they can drink without ever touching the deep liquid. We're talking twigs, wood chips, wine corks, even some clean pebbles or a bit of wire mesh. It's a super low-tech solution for a really high-stakes problem.
Now, if you want a 100% foolproof way to stop drownings, this is it. Switch to solid feed, like bee candy or fondant. You're taking the liquid out of the equation completely, so there's literally zero risk of drowning. This is an awesome option, especially for weaker colonies that might have a tough time with a liquid feeder.
Okay, but what about a hive that's in real trouble? They're so weak they can't even make it to a feeder. This is like an emergency intervention. You can lightly spray a sugar solution right into the empty honeycomb cells. You're basically bringing the food right to their doorstep, giving them that critical energy boost without any of the risk.
So those are the quick fixes, but now let's zoom out and think bigger. The absolute best solution is always prevention, right? It's about being a proactive beekeeper and creating an environment where these things are just less likely to happen from the start.
Hey, remember we talked about viscosity, that sticky quicksand problem? Well, this is where you can control it. Your syrup recipe shouldn't be the same all year round. In the spring, you want a lighter 1-to-1 syrup to get the colony going. But in the fall, you need a heavier 2-to-1 mix to help them build up their winter stores. Matching the recipe to the season is a total game changer.
At the end of the day, keeping your feeders safe is really just one piece of a much bigger picture: overall hive health. A strong hive is a resilient hive. So this is your checklist. Are you checking for diseases? Is your feed always fresh? Are you thinking about the temperature when you feed? If you focus on making your colonies stronger, you're building a foundation of safety that prevents all kinds of problems.
So what this all comes down to is a shift in how we think about beekeeping. It's about moving from just reacting to problems after they happen to proactively building a strong, healthy, resilient hive that's ready for whatever comes its way.
And you know, this quote just says it all, doesn't it? A great beekeeper doesn't just solve problems, they understand their hive's needs so well they can prevent problems from ever starting. That's the goal. It's that deep connection, that intuition you build with your bees that lets you get ahead of the curve.
So, I want to leave you with a final question. Is your hive ready for its next challenge? With everything we've just talked about, take a fresh look at your setup. What's one small, proactive change you can make today that will make a big difference for your bees tomorrow?